Hello, Meta here, and I hope you're all doing well. Currently, I've been looking through some Pokemon ROM hacks, specifically for Generation 1, to replay the original games with some added spice. I've also recently decided to play and review a different hack for each version within the generation. Last time, I talked about Starbeast's Asteroid version for Pokemon Red, a hack which I thoroughly enjoyed. It added a ton of changes to the original game that made it feel like a whole new experience. This time, however, I decided to look for a hack that only enhanced the original games. Throughout my search, I eventually came across one that piqued my interest, that hack being Pokemon Solus by Decrescent, which would be my choice for Pokemon Blue version. Pokemon Solus is a hack that works for all three of the original Generation 1 Pokemon games, Red, Blue, and Green, and provides them all with many new features. Additional sprite work, quality of life updates, slight changes to gameplay, as well as some extra content, all have been added to the vanilla experience, providing what I believe to be one of the best ways to experience Generation 1. Let's start with the sprite work. Pokemon Solus gives the player character a whole new back sprite of a higher resolution. This new sprite looks a lot smoother and cleaner than what the originals had, and it's a lot easier on the eyes. The hack also provides new back sprites to every Pokemon, which are from the Gold and Silver Space World demo, in order to have them match the same quality as the player sprite. I honestly believe this is a great use for these cut sprites, mostly because they all still work with the Gen 1 style, and maybe not many people have seen them. Heck, this is the first time I'm seeing them, and I think they all look nice. Now while all the back sprites have been upgraded, the front sprites still use original sprite work from the original games. The creator of the hack chose what they believe to be the best looking sprites from the RBY lineup to represent them, meaning that no matter what version you play the hack in, the sprites will remain the same each time. Also, every Pokemon with an evolutionary line all share the same source game sprites, meaning that if the first evolution uses a sprite from Green version, then the rest will follow suit, even if there might be a better one out there. At first this did bum me out a bit considering some options are obviously better than others, but I can see why keeping it within the same style is a better option. It would just be a bit jarring for a Pokemon that constantly changed styles through its evolution, especially since every sprite from Pokemon Yellow looks like a fresh new paint job compared to RGB sprites. Lastly, I want to say there's a couple overworld changes, if not only one, that doesn't really affect the game at all. It's just more of a personal preference of the creator. Now with all the sprites out of the way, it's time to talk about how Solus truly enhances the Gen 1 experience, the quality of life additions, and the gameplay enhancements. First off, all Pokemon with the original games can be attained through legit means. There's no such thing as version exclusives, all three fossil Pokemon can be revived within a single playthrough, and the starters can be found wandering about certain dungeons, be it with an encounter rate of 1%, so good luck. Also, all trade lock evolutions can be achieved in the game via the Trader, an NPC the hack added in Celadon that will freely trade your Pokemon back and forth to evolve them. Meanwhile, Mew, who is normally obtained through glitches and cheats, is now easily available to the player as it was given a special location where it resides like all the other legendaries. Staying on the topic of the Pokemon themselves, Solus adds the feature of forward patched movesets and learn sets for some of them. Moves that the Pokemon don't learn in Gen 1, but do in Generation 2 have now been made available. Of course they have to be moves that exist in the vanilla games, so don't expect any new moves added in Gen 2 to show up. An example being that Tangela is now able to learn Mega Drain through leveling up, rather than you having to waste your TM given to you by Erica. The change logs for the hacks have a complete list of all these forward patch moves, which I will provide a link for you for your viewing pleasure. Next up is the updates to the battle system. The battle system has been updated both the mechanics and the HUD itself. Like most hacks, certain moves have been changed to match their present typing, the exception this time being Bite, since Dark and Steel types are not present within this hack, staying true to the vanilla games. Ghost type attacks now deal 2 times damage to Psychic types as we all know them to, which I'll be honest, I was never really aware that Ghost moves did not affect Psychic types in the original Gen 1 games. I mean, considering that there was only one Ghost move that wasn't a status move or did a set amount of damage. So, all you Lick fans out there, congrats. For the HUD, the XP bar from Generation 2 makes an appearance, and the already caught indicator was added as well. The indicator being probably the biggest selling point, as it helps those filling out the Pokédex not have to remember what they've caught, but the XP bar is always a nice touch. The next thing I want to mention on the enhancements to the gameplay is the dedicated field move slot. Now this is what I would consider to be probably the best feature that Pokemon Solus adds. Don't get me wrong, I love every feature that the hack adds, but this one just knocks them out of the park. What this feature entails is that any HM move, along with the TM's Teleport, Dig, and Soft Boiled, can be assigned to a Pokemon without taking any of their 4 move slots, but instead a special field slot implemented within the hack, giving you all the benefits of a field move without taking up any of your Pokemon's move pool. This alone is a complete game changer to any Gen 1 playthrough, because you no longer need to find and catch an HM slave, nor use up a move slot on one of your main Pokemon. However, there is a limitation to this feature. All Pokemon are only given 1 field move slot, and once it's used, it has to be cleared in order to use again. Thankfully, all you need to do to clear out the slot is store the Pokemon into the PC and withdraw it back out. Now, while I'm well aware of other methods hack implement to make HMs less intrusive, I feel like the field move slot is a very interesting and unique approach to it. It doesn't completely erase the old staple of HMs like some hacks do, but makes them both flexible and easy to use in a playthrough without any of the annoyances. The feature is also optional to use, so if you really want to teach your Pokemon an HM move, then you can. While on the topic of HMs and TMs, Pokemon Solus adds in a couple of new TMs of pretty good moves. The first couple being the Elemental Punches that can now be purchased through a newly added sales clerk within the Celadon department store, just like Gen 2, and no longer are exclusive to Hitmonchan and the others that can learn it. The next new TM is Flamethrower, a move that normally took later levels to learn within all the fire types, now an easy to access TM that can be bought through Bill's dad who resides in Fuchsia City. All 4 of these new TMs are great additions to any team and can really add to a Pokemon's moveset. Also, the forward patch learn set does apply with these moves as well. Therefore, Machamp can be taught any of these elemental punches if need be. Lastly, the hack adds one more big extra feature, the Scrap Professor Oak fight. If you're not too familiar with this fight, apparently in the game's file there was a fight against Oak that was planned for the original games. In the vanilla games though, the only way you can access this fight is through glitches and cheats, so not many people will experience this unless they follow all the necessary steps. In the hack, however, the fight is made readily available after the player defeats the Pokemon League, where I believe it was originally supposed to take place. The fight itself is fairly tough, with all of his Pokemon exceeding the levels of the champion rival fight. And since there's usually not much to do after the original games, it is a nice bit of extra post-game content for the player to enjoy. Now, how do I feel about the hack overall? I believe Pokemon Solus to be one of, if not the best ways to replay the original Red, Blue, and Green. All the extra add-ons and changes to the sprite work really give the original RGB a more polished look, while still feeling like the original games. If you ever feel like replaying Generation 1, then I would highly recommend playing this hack. If there's any other ROM hacks that you'd like me to check out, then tell me in the comments. I'll be happy to review them. With that, I'll see you next time when I talk about one of my favorite Gen 1 spin-offs. Meta, out.